Hi everybody, welcome into the 4 o'clock show to start our week, and delighted to have you with us. You know, as much as I love having all these Northeast Kansans come and sit on our cushions of the couch and share their events, I'm also enjoying when we have the chance to have one or maybe two guests. And my special guest today is Gary Clark. We're going to learn more about not only what's happening now with Camp Cowabunga, but what led up to that, his decades of loving African safaris. And we're thrilled right off the top of the show here. We're going to spend this half hour with Gary Clark. Gary, it's good to have you here.
My pleasure. I'm delighted.
Oh, I think we've only gotten together, this is our second time of a long interview and sharing some of your life stories. Gary, I've always, in talking to people, I know that what they love to do develops as a child. Did you love zoos and African safari ideas when you were a kid?
You know, for as long as I can remember, when I was a boy, the two things I wanted to do in life was, one was work in the zoo, and the other was go to Africa. And I've been so fortunate I've been able to do both. Right here in Topeka, Kansas.
You're born in 1939 in Wichita, Kansas.
Yes,
and
correct.
how did you get to Topeka? And but your boyhood, what was that like, and when did you get here to
Well,
Northeast Kansas?
as a youngster, my dad worked for the Department of Agriculture, so I lived back east for a while in Alexandria, Virginia, and went to the National Zoo and the Smithsonian and all those museums. And then he was transferred back to Kansas City. So when I was 16 years old, I went to the Kansas City Zoo and said, "Here I am, God's gift to the zoo world." And they said, "You got to be."
You knew right away. Said, I'm your gift to the zoo world. You were confident and ready to go.
Well, they said you got to be 18 to work in this.
Oh,
zoo.
okay.
Okay, fine. So I did that, and then I had a chance to go to the zoo in Fort Worth as a curator.
Right.
And then I had a chance to come to Topeka as the director. I was only 24 years old at the time, but I was getting bald already, so that looked older.
55 years, Gary, your association in one way or another with this fantastic zoo. Isn't that
Yes,
something?
it has been my pleasure and such a privilege. 26 years as the director,
right.
And after that they gave me the title of Director Emeritus. So I've been just there to help out in an advisory capacity, help with the master plan, things of that type, you know.
This fabulous book, which is in one of my prized collection books, Gary Clark's Africa. When did you work on this coffee table book? How old were you at that time?
Well, that's after I'd been on my 140 safaris, and I went through all my slides. These pictures in the book are film and not digital. And went through and picked out what I thought were the ones of most interest to people. And
which is what we're going to do now, by the way, aren't we? Yeah.
And put the book together.
Yeah. I'll hold it right here.
Yeah.
And so we have, you know, we're going to take a little travelogue with Gary Clark and his African safaris. Tell me about these photographs.
Well,
these are slides that you put in the book as photographs.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, the elephant is a young bull elephant, and I was in the back of an open pickup truck. He was not charging. He was simply walking by, and it's a young, exuberant specimen. I was very impressed with him. And the rhino, even though that rhino is brown, it's a white rhino that has rolled in the mud.
Oh,
now, you know, there are two species of African rhinos, the white rhino and the black rhino. And either one can be either brown, or if they roll in white dust, they can be white or gray.
For sure.
So it's not so much the actual color.
All right, and flipping the pages, this wonderful book is Gary Clark's Africa. Tell me about your journeys to these two places.
Well,
what are we seeing here?
Well, the one with all the trees is in the floor of the Ngorongoro crater, which is a huge extinct volcano in Tanzania that is big enough that the city of Topeka would fit into it twice.
You're kidding me.
No.
Oh my gosh.
And those trees are called yellow fever trees, and that elephant there, now that's a mature bull elephant, much larger and older than the one we saw a moment ago.
Yeah.
And that elephant is probably 12 foot at the shoulder, so you can see how tall those trees are. It's just amazing. And then the other photo shows the Tarangire River going through Tarangire National Park. It's a ribbon of life in this habitat because during the dry season there's always some water flowing through the river. And it's unusual to see giraffes down there standing. But they don't like to be in soft surfaces because they feel uncomfortable.
Sure. With their hooves and the weight of the giraffe, they don't like to be in soft mud situations or river banks.
And great height and maintaining their balance and so on.
Okay. Let me flip it back to the cover here, as the book is Gary Clark's Africa. And we're spending the day with Gary Clark and talking about African safaris. We'll turn more pages of the book and more pages of Gary's life when we return. Actually, a lot of our show this election day focuses on the upcoming Veterans Day, the centennial of the end of World War I. Oskaloosa is going to mark that in a big way. I want you to meet three outstanding one of them 16, two of them 17-year-old students from Oskaloosa High School, Jenna Fowl, Gavin Mosley, and J.C. Johnson. How are you?
Good to have you.
Gavin, how are you?
I'm good.
How are you down there? How's the weather down there? J.C., good to have you. Is this a class project? You're organizing the town's Veterans Day Parade. This is being done as a class project?
Right. The junior American history classes have been working really hard to plan our Veterans Day program because we think it's really important to honor our veterans in our community and give them a special day.
How is it important? It's 100 years since the war ended, and how important? This is a big Veterans Day. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So it's very important to get all of our veterans together, show them how much we appreciate what they've done for us and our country. So we really just want to make it a big thing.
That's great. Gavin, what have you learned about it? Was, as we mentioned, it was Armistice Day originally at 11 o'clock on the 11th of November, the 11-11-11. What have you learned about this holiday and how we also changed the name of it?
Well, this is our second annual Veterans Day celebration, and our
JC may have to pick up the story.
yeah, JC, you want to help us?
Yeah. JC, what have you learned about all this? Have you been studying this in history and
Yeah, we
the
have.
meaning of this?
And we would really like to invite all of the veterans, all current and past veterans, to our second annual event that we'll have on Friday.
Cool.
And it's going to start at 9 a.m. with registration. And then we'll have a flag greeting out with the K through 12 students. After that, we're going to welcome all of the veterans in for lunch. And then we're going to have a formal ceremony.
So you're having it Friday, and the actual day is Sunday, but you're going to have this on Friday morning?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah. Is it only for Oskaloosa? Can we all come over?
Oh no,
Everyone's
every veteran is
Everyone's
welcome.
welcome.
Everyone's welcome. Give us, from Topeka, give us some good directions how to get there.
Let's see. Anyone got any?
How did you get here? How did you get to
30
Topeka?
minutes. That way.
30 minutes that way. Friday morning at 9?
Yep.
Right.
Yes.
What's the mascot of Oskaloosa High School?
Bear.
Bears.
The Bears. Do you have a
Yes.
game? Are you still in the football playoffs or anything like that?
No, we're not. Our football team kind of had a rough
They had a
go
rough year.
this season.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're going to carry the banner, and you guys are the stars now. So remind us again, Jenna Fowl, about Friday morning and this Oskaloosa commemoration of Veterans Day. Remind us more about that.
Well, I mean, we just really want to get everyone, we're a really tight-knit community, so we really want to get everyone together to celebrate this wonderful event. We're going to have a meet and greet with refreshments, flag raising, and then the formal ceremony is really where we want to get everyone together.
So a lot of music too. Some
Yes.
Yeah,
Our
we're gonna be
bands.
playing the songs of every branch of the military,
Terrific.
as well as tabs by someone on the trumpet.
All right. And in Oskaloosa, where do we all go? Is it in the main center of town or at the high school?
the high
Where do
school.
you
The high
go?
school.
At your school. What's the
Yes.
address of your high school? Can you tell me that one?
404 Park Street.
She got it. All right. Jenna, Gavin, and JC, thanks a lot for putting this all together. I think it's awesome that you rolled with this and put the town's Veterans Day parade and commemoration on the streets of Oskaloosa. And thanks for coming to see me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you
Thank
for
you.
Thanks for
having
having us
us.
on.
Our pleasure. You're going to stick around, see the rest of the show?
Yes,
Yeah.
we
Yes.
are.
All right, we have something about World War I. You will learn about World War I when you go to the library. 'Cause
Oh,
in a
yes.
moment, it's Library Tuesday and a fascinating exhibit now that Armistice and Veterans Day, the commemoration, is almost here. What's happening in the Sabatini Gallery? Library Tuesday is next. I want to begin with the very interesting chat I had with our outgoing Governor, Gov Colyer. We sat down on his green couch in the ceremonial office of the governor yesterday. And with 7 years as lieutenant governor, he's our longest serving lieutenant governor, but at 50 weeks may well be our shortest serving governor. So as we begin some of this conversation I want to share with you this Friday, I asked him if there was something about the job of governor that he was surprised by, that he didn't expect.
You know, I had a pretty good idea what was needed, for the job, and I hope people have seen that there's been a difference. That the economy, we're doing very well, more Kansans working than ever in the history of the state. But for me, what I really saw in what's important is you got to talk to people and you got to listen to them and really get down with them. whether it's a business that you're trying to bring to Kansas or a single mom and the issues that she has with the kids in her school. You know, you've got to really listen to people. And that's what I really learned a lot about. And that's not very politic, but I think it's the right thing to do.
You had said when you came in, and January 31st was that you were sworn in, you said you wanted to change the tone or have more civility. And how do you feel you did on your goals of having yourself and Kansas government be more accessible and transparent? Have you made a lot of progress on that?
You know, I think we've made some progress. We're not at the end state by any stage, but I think we had a good beginning overall. You know, one of the very first things was several orders on transparency so that people can actually see what's going on, so we can deal with the problems of DCF, that people know what's happening in their state, but also that people know that we're listening to them and that it's not all politics all the time. And that's what I've tried to concentrate on. And I think the tone has changed in the state of Kansas. You know, we have a lot to be proud of, and it's the best state in the union. And I think just having a little bit of pride in it, talking about it, and you know, just as good Kansas, you know, feel, it's important. It's the heart of America.
Yeah. You always say, I want to leave Kansas, I want to leave anything better than when I left it. Are you leaving Kansas better than when you came in?
Well, I'll let the people decide, but I hope that people understand that we've given it our best shot. And where we're sitting at today is different than where we were a year ago or a couple of years ago. We now have more Kansans working than ever in the history of the state of Kansas. Our wages are up 4.8% this year alone. That means more money in every person's pocketbook. And what we're doing is, when your unemployment rate's so low, you got to grow it. You've got to grow better jobs. So we brought in Geico, got Warren Buffett to move, you know, a lot of Geico jobs here. We just announced, you know, another 1,400 aerospace jobs down in Wichita. We're seeing lots of small businesses growing up in western Kansas. We're starting to get in a dynamic place, and I hope people see that we're really working on it. I think the second thing is that we're also dealing with our budget issues. Our credit rating has improved for the first time in a decade. We're going to have a $900 million surplus, that, you know, so the state's going to be in good fiscal shape. And then we're also dealing with the major issues. Our main responsibility is education. And we fully funded education. $500 million going into K-12 education is important for our kids. And we're also starting to reform our schools so that they're more responsive to the jobs of the future. So we've done a lot in this past year. You're not going to see all of the effects of it for a while.
Yeah. Where are we on Gannon and school funding as you're transferring over the power?
So where we are right now is the Supreme Court came back with a ruling that we had to deal with the inflation rate that's involved with school finance. So the legislature and the incoming governor will make a proposal on dealing with that. That would be the simplest way of solving this thing. This lawsuit has been ahead of us. We've had 50 years of school finance litigation. I would really like to see this end.
Was there something, Governor Colyer, if you were staying in, it would be 5 years, if you'd won a term, something that you wanted to work on in your term, if you had that?
You know, for me, my whole goal is I want to see Kansas as the place where our kids see their future. That's the shorthand. We're a really dynamic, we're a great state. And I want those opportunities here, not in Texas, not in California. And we're starting to work on that. And I hope that whoever the next, you know, governor, whatever she does, that she really focuses on how do we get our kids to see their future here. I'd like to see that. And we're starting to see some dynamic things happening, just like the aviation jobs that we talked about.
Here in Kansas.
Here in Kansas. Yeah. You know, there are great technology jobs, great healthcare jobs. You know, the KU Med Center's national rankings and research is moved up dramatically over the last few years here. You know, and what's happening in agriculture and, you know, the opportunities that we have in trade, if we can deal with our Chinese trade problems, we can start really moving our economy up.
The governor yesterday, we had a great time with him. Laura Kelly will be sworn in on January 14th. Full coverage that day on 13 News.